My early life was filled with violence. And I remember one time, just behind me, there's a rifle up on the wall. And I loaded that rifle. And I walked down a long porch where he was sitting behind a lighted window. And I walked down that porch looking at his head behind a lighted window. And I started to throw the shells out of that gun. And when it was empty, I pointed right between his eyes and pulled the trigger. And it just clicked. He knew that I could have killed him if I wanted to kill him. It was the horses that taught me that violence is never the answer, so you congratulate yourself every time you look back on it and say, I did it right. I went to a lot of schools, but my schools were attended by me on the road. And I went back twice a month to take tests to make sure I was getting an education. It happens that I was born to a man who believed that beating up children was a way to teach them. And so I had 72 prepubescent fractures before I was 12 years old. I had 72 fractures, all by a father. Now, during the course of that time, he was pressing me to go into very violent sports. I played football for Hartnell College here on the West Coast. That's not a world championship, but it was a Western United States championship. And I was a defensive player only to try to hurt people, not to make touchdowns or anything. And so my early life was filled with violence. And all of a sudden, at 15 years of age, I remember a Mustang that came to me based upon the procedures I used, showing me that they really didn't need violence, and that if I was less violent, I got them educated quicker than if I was more violent. And so I started telling myself I have to take this somewhere right across the board. So I won. Debbie's telling me that the count, it's difficult because there's a lot of championships that were not world championships. And I think of them as world championships because they were really tough. But she said there's 11 bona fide world championships. And all of those were with horses. And so as I came up at 15 years of age, my father decided he was really going to beat me up for that first Mustang that I managed to cause to accept saddle and rider in 3 days in the wild with no fences, no 20th century facilities of any kind. And he didn't get it done. And they put him in the hospital because of my ability at 15 years of age. He was already 28 years older than me. So anyway, he lost. And I went right on seeking this nonviolent way to deal with things, particularly people. I mean, I saw a lot of violence in my time with the Second World War and all of that. And I never saw violence helping the human race. I saw it hindering the human race. And so the bulldogging that I did wasn't violent for me. You throw this steer on the ground, but you love him at the same time, and you cause him to be a very good athlete at the same time. And I know this sounds crazy, but my life has been filled with causing horses and other animals to be better off in the world of nonviolence than they are in the world of violence. So with 11 world championships, and I'm sitting in a room that's just filled with championships. I won 500 of these gold and silver belt buckles, of which my mother allowed me to keep 58 of them in this frame that's in here. And I'm not bragging to you about that. What I'm bragging to you about is my discovery of the fact that these things came without force, without violence. And they are changing the world of training horses pretty rapidly now. But boy, oh boy, at first I thought I could never make the change that's come. But for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II to endorse my work and push me to 41 countries to show my work, it is really changing. I'm so sorry that she couldn't live to be 150 instead of
that when you want a horse to do something, you cannot force the horse to do something. You want to make the right condition for the horse to want to do.
The best horse I ever had was Johnny Tivio. That's his name. He came to me from a trainer that said he was never going to be any good anyway, and that he was tying his head to his tail and knocking his neck down with a lead-filled pipe. And he thought that made him softer and more resilient to the reins and stuff. And it didn't. The horse fought back, Johnny Tivio. He fought back. And I got my hands on him because he was determined to be useless. And he turned out to be 2 world championships for me, and unbelievably willing to do anything I asked him to do. I was in one contest where he had never been in that contest before. It's called Western Riding, and it's kind of a dressage of Western horsemanship. And I asked him to do it because if I would win it, he would be the champion of the whole show. And so I gave it a try, and I practiced a little bit at home, but he never had been in the competition before. And when I showed him in the show, I sat there looking down his neck and saying, "Oh my God, how did you learn this so fast?" And he won it, marking the highest mark that I ever received in a competition. And the world champion was sitting right outside the arena. And that guy was really upset, but he recognized that my score was better than his, and he wouldn't tend to believe that it was the only time this horse had ever done that particular contest. Why? Because he wanted to. And giving them a trophy, giving them acceptance for doing the thing you want is wonderful. Causing them to work hard to get there is also wonderful. And every time they do something right, you take the work away. When they do something wrong, you put them back to work. And they will find their way to be more comfortable with life. People do the same thing.
I just realized that I never had the opportunity to tell you, Monty, that throughout my career in swimming, I started swimming when I was 3 and I retired when I was 31. And there was a time that I retired because I decided that I was done with it. I was not going to do it anymore. And then my husband was also an athlete. He told me to read this book. And that's how I got to know Edu and you. And you don't know this, but it was actually this book that kind of like motivated me to get back to the sport and to kind of understand that it wasn't about what was happening in my surroundings and how fast I was swimming. It was really about myself and the non-violence relationship that I had the right to build with swimming. So it's really not just a question. It's just to thank you, because back in 2014, that's when I read the book. And I came back to swimming and I made peace with the sport. And then I was able to, 3 years later, retired happily and do the transition of my career. So thank you.
Oh, that's so nice. Oh boy, I can't swim. I can get across the pool, but that's all. And I never tried to really make myself swim, but I can do quite a few things. And to think that I had a swimmer gain from my concepts is just so pride making. I can't begin to tell you how it makes me feel. I just look back now because they've asked me to do a book, and they want this book to relate each of the items that I learned to do enough of so that it changed my life. And then they want to know how I got there and why I got there. And so I'm working on that book right now, and my wife Pat and Caroline Baldock from England is working with me to put the words together, because I'm not the best at that for sure. But anyway, I have 2 doctorates, so I could go through universities and get it done. But I had to tell myself it's the outcome that's important. It's not just the studies. And I had wonderful times in Switzerland with the University of Zurich, Switzerland, and a lady coach there, Brigitte von Reckenberg. She helped me so much. She saw the value of what I was doing. And before that, Zurich University would push that information into their students. And the head of the department didn't like the fact that I was saying, don't push, don't push. Allow them to learn and see the value of it and enjoy the value of it. And now that man is retired, but he is convinced also that it was a good thing for that to happen in that university. So I'm so proud of what's happening to finish up my life, because I'll be 90 in May, and if I make May. But anyway, I'm still able to walk around, and I rode a horse yesterday, but I don't think I'll ride anymore because I was so dizzy up there. I was going to fall off pretty easily. But anyway, maybe I can ride a really quiet one that's right for children to ride or something like that. But I'm so proud to be on. And Eduardo came to my course, and look what it's done for him. I don't know. He came with another man, and I think both of them gained a lot from my course, because it's a unique attitude toward education and toward the successful use of your brain and your body to do the things that bring pride back to you, if you get it right.
Well, first of all, what a privilege to be talking about nonviolence. There's a principle in the Vedic world, the Oriental world of India, which we say ahimsa, which means exactly nonviolence. And it's more of a mental attitude towards whatever challenge life brings. I'm curious, Monty, at this age, at this time of your life, with the challenges of old age, how do you apply these principles of nonviolence with everything that you're going through now at this moment in your journey?
Well, I'm applying it by taking a student that came to one of my courses and having him go back to his country and do really well, and then decide that he should call me and put me on some screen somewhere to talk to others. And I just had Monjeev here from India, who is fantastic as an instructor in my concepts and can't ride a horse, didn't know how to ride a horse at all. But anyway, I have 2 or 3 from India that have done exceedingly well, because the Indian people in general, they will put their mind to something and really work hard to accomplish it. And Monjeev, he's just spent 2 months with us, 4 months with us, and he was teaching all my courses. And I listened to them, and I couldn't have done any better myself. He doesn't say he can ride. He doesn't try to tell you, oh, I can do that and I can win this or win that. He doesn't do that. He shows you where he thinks you ought to go to study enough to get the things that you long for in your life in the future.
Monty, there's a concept which I think is very interesting for us to discuss and hear your view on that, which is about discipline. Because usually discipline is something that people associate with like orders, with violence, with a violent way of speaking, with you have to do that every day at this time, this way. And you praise non-violent ways of training, but also you're a person that also praise discipline. How can discipline live together with non-violence?
Discipline can live together with nonviolence easily if you use your minds together, student and teacher, and show them what you want and work the heck out of them when they make mistakes and congratulate them when they get it right. And they watch themselves take that right on past the instructor most of the time. And I think we graduated some people here in the last couple of months with Monjeev that will go on and do better with what they wanted to do with their lives than I could have ever imagined, just by showing them nothing but horses and not talking about the human element of learning and enjoying the outcome of learning.
Yeah, I want to expand a little bit on this conversation. It really speaks deeply to, with my heart, because on this endeavor to promote safe sport, like this idea of safe sport, is truly about those relationships, like the athlete and the coach relationship, athlete through athlete relationship. And to us, there is a way, and that's the biggest resistance that we face when we talk about safe sport, is there are ways to perform if you coach through a compassionate way, not coaching through compliance, but coaching through compassion. And I always give like examples, that is that when an athlete commits to something, like I want to go to the Olympic Games, or I want to be an Olympic champion, or I want to be a national champion, or I want to finish this marathon, there will be days that they're going to wake up and they're going to feel like, I don't really want to do this. I don't really want to do this training. I don't really want to do this practice. And that's what, when it comes, the good use of the authority of the coach and the person who is leading you to kind of remind you why you decided to do that. And can you expand a little bit on this? Because I feel like this is really an important point, and that's like at the core of what we talk about and what we advocate for when we talk about a healthy elite sports environment.
Well, that's a fantastic rendition of the things we've been talking about. There's no question about it. And I never dreamt that I would, when I was young and being beaten up by my father all the time, I never dreamt that I would live through such a successful um, transportation or trip through life to come out this other end with people such as yourselves sitting down and listening to my concepts as they have been so successful for me for what I set out to do and to be. I feel that I did better with people than I did with the horses. I really do. And it took me a long time to get ready to do this because I was going to beat everybody and be the champion of all of these things, bulldogging and cutting horses and rein cow horses and all kinds of horse things. I'm going to be the best you ever saw. And it turned out that you'll be the best you ever saw when you stop thinking I need to be the best you ever saw, and you start thinking about the value of learning these things that help you teach. And then you find good brains out there that have also goals in their lives, that if you help them with horses, the flight animal, that means nothing to violence. Horses don't want violence in their life, and they will be less likely to be successful with their life if violence is a part of it. So, if you show them about the horses not wanting violence, they take it to themselves, and you help them take it to themselves. You're going to end up with the best students you've ever graduated, and I'm just so proud that you've come to discuss this because it is the goal of my life to do what we're doing right now.
Monty, in life, I mean, we learn when the limit comes normally. And so there is a constructive way to dealing with the field of self-improvement, so we can go beyond what our mind normally puts us just stuck in the place that we are afraid. We are slaves of our fears and everything. How do you feel this fine line, this middle way from this limit that cannot be forceful, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for us to go beyond the mind barrier, the ego barrier that usually we are so challenged from?
Well, yeah, and that's a great question. And I can tell you that I start to push people early in the thing, and I think Eduardo can tell you the same thing. And I generally sit down with those that seem to be a little bit, antsy about going forward like that. And I say, is it okay? Is it okay with you if I push like hell when I think you're wrong? And I really make it emphatic that's wrong. And when you're right, I congratulate the hell out of you, and I throw you in the air, and I tell all my friends how proud I am of you, which I do for people like Eduardo all the time. I do it all the time. And the further down this road I go, I wish I could be 150, because it's getting more and more rapid, this business of improving people to their maximum degree that they were born to accomplish, no matter what the discipline is that they are trying to learn. I don't know all the disciplines, but I can watch somebody reaching all the disciplines. And oftentimes it's putting together all these lines and stuff, and these. I never have turned a computer on. I've never turned a computer off. I don't know anything about computers, and I ask you not to make me learn about computers. But if you want to learn about computers, we'll get you on the right path, and then you can set it up for me to talk to people like this. It's crazy. I never dreamt I would be able to do this. And I only am able to do it if somebody sets it all up for me. But I don't want to push myself into somewhere I didn't want to go. I'm pushing myself into those places that I really wanted to go. And the nonviolent horse, a flight animal, is one of the most perfect partners in this learning process, because they don't advance themselves to where they can turn on the TV or a computer or even a radio. They don't know any of that, but they know a lot of things that the human generally doesn't know. And what is that? How to live, how to stay alive instead of being eaten by some predator somewhere. So people need to learn about predators too, because there's plenty of them with two legs. And not all people are friendly. So you want to know about that, and you want to be able to help those people maybe become a little more friendly to one another. And I mean, my students are going away, in my opinion, far, far better than they came to me. And particularly South America, because I'm sure you realize that South America is loaded with violence in terms of raising young children. And most of the people that come to me from Brazil and Argentina and Mexico, for sure, they've been heavily pushed in a violent way to go wherever they're trying to go. And I get them here with good brains, really good brains that haven't been used. And I find things that they can do, not necessarily riding a horse, but things they can do that will help them look at themselves in the mirror and say, I got it.
Monty, we've talked about your life many times, and I heard so many interesting stories. And in many of those stories, which are stories that people don't usually know, things didn't go right for you. So sometimes things didn't go right for you in a house you bought, or in the farm you had, or in the competition you participated. So at 89 years old, almost 90 years old, you have collected not only a lot of trophies, but a lot of frustrations in your life too. And it's very important for an athlete to deal with the frustrations that will inevitably happen in their lives. What did you learn about how to deal with frustrations in our lives?
Well, I had a lot of lessons that are too complicated to go over, I mean, a lot of different lessons. And one of them certainly was to meet a billionaire, Hastings Harcourt of Harcourt Brace World Publishing Company. And he was thrown out of New York by his father. But he had plenty of money sent to him to do whatever he wanted. And he chose me to build him this farm, to design this farm. That when it was designed and sitting here, it was valued at $12 million. And he was a very troubled man in his own right, and he sent me to his psychiatrist, who said that he had sandcastle syndrome, which means they get a kick out of it when the sea comes in and knocks down the sandcastle. And he arrested me and put me in jail, chained to another man who was to get me to sign a guilty plea. And I wasn't guilty of stealing 1 penny, but he accused me of stealing $1.2 million. And so 8 months later, they had a trial, and they brought a judge out of retirement, and he said, "This is a sham trial." I'm looking at all these documents, and my attorney told me that he could find where he took money from the people that built the buildings and all of these things, because he used the low bid. And people will pay the guy that's working for the man to get the low bid, to be sure they get the low bid. Well, I never took a penny. And this judge said, he never took a penny from you. And now we're going to sit here until he smiles. When Monty smiles, this case is over. And my attorney said, don't smile. But I did smile after I found that Pat and I could own this farm. And then the man came back to apologize to me. Apologize to me. They had me chained to 2 different people to get me to sign a guilty plea. They didn't care whether I was guilty or not. Just that I sign a guilty plea, then they would be off and running. So that was a huge education for me in the point of doing things right, staying honest, do the best job you can at the thing you know, and always act in the best interest of those people that are bringing you your life. I couldn't have bought a quarter of an acre of this farm when we came here. We had no money at all. We had 3 children. And yes, I was winning a lot of competitions, but they didn't pay enough to have a farm. That's for sure. So I was offered by God so many opportunities. And my attorneys were upset that I smiled too quickly, that I could have gotten a lot more. But you know, as I sat there, I said to myself, if I get this farm, my life is made. It's made. So why would I sit here and grind him into the dust and make him pay over and over what I actually had lost, which was 8 months and a lot of my mind? He came back, he apologized, and Pat and I went into the business with some money that we got from this. We started to buy. The first thing he did was put my favorite horse that he owned in a sale, and we bought him. And we bought him for something like $3,000. And 7 months later, I had him trained, and he brought $70-some thousand. And I said, Pat, this is a good thing. We buy these babies untrained, and then 7 months later, we put them in a 2-year-old sale. We buy them as yearlings and put them in a 2-year-old sale. And she said, okay. And she's an artist, so she could help me with confirmation a lot. And together we picked them out. And in the end of all of it, when we stopped having this business, we had earned $4.5 million in buying and selling thoroughbred horses. I think that in and of itself is a world championship. I don't think anybody has accomplished anything like that. And well enough if they have. Congratulations to them. I'm not trying to call it a contest, but it was certainly helpful in raising our family and keeping this farm, which we could then give to our firstborn child. And that's Debbie, and she now owns the farm. And we have the right to live in this house and try to be happy here because that's the agreement that we have. And it's a lot of fun. Yes, I can't ride anymore and I can't do a lot of things anymore, but this is what I love now. What we're doing right now is what I love now.
I guess I know the answer to this question, but as simple as that, is there a way to live in gratitude after being inflicted by violence in life? And if so, how to navigate that?
Yeah, there is no violence in life that can't be helpful. No matter what the violence is. I mean, okay, so they break your neck, that's not going to be helpful. But challenges of the sort that I went through was so valuable to me. It was no longer just horses and making champions. That was my pastime. My real lot in life was to keep on keeping on and understanding my education, behavioral sciences. Behavioral sciences took me to these flight animals, and these flight animals understood what I was asking them to do, and they loved accomplishing what I was asking them to do. And so that just kept everybody improving instead of failing. The poor guy that did that to me died about a year after he did this to me, and he was never once again a happy person. He dealt himself his own anxieties. So you turn that around and you don't do that kind of thing. You don't do that. You congratulate yourself every time you look back on it and say, I did it right. And you don't accept when you think you did it wrong and try to do it over again or something like that. No. Look ahead. Try to get the things you want in life right. And until you get them right, keep working at it until you begin to get them right. And then it'll work for you.
And it's important, just before passing to Marco, it's important, Joanna, I don't know if you know that, but this transformation in Monty's life was not an easy one. Before passing through that and realizing that he could be like a better person and turn that into an educational thing for his life, he was about to shoot his father. He was about to kill his father after all the violence he passed through. If Monty, you can briefly tell about that, because I think it's important to know that you had a lot of anger, you had a lot of rage, and that almost got you to kill your father before you promoted this change in your life, right?
That's exactly right. And it was the horses that taught me that violence is never the answer. So I violate my father. Then what? Where do I go then? I'm sentencing myself when I do that. So I started to get things that I wanted to do correctly. I started to see the value of successfully doing these things. And it has built and built and built until my final outcome, is worth way over $12 million. Now, the the way property has gone up and stuff, I could have retired and taken $12 million and gone somewhere. Where? Oh, I don't know. Where do you want to go? Oh, I just want to be happy. I've got plenty now. What do I want to do with it now? Well, now I want to hand it over. And I want to watch my students, such as yourselves, go through the same process by which your accomplishments become your highway to learning, become your highway to happiness and a satisfaction of your life. People go through life and stay very unhappy, pushing and become millionaires, but all through a forceful kind of existence. And then they die not happy, not happy. I am going to die extremely happy because I grounded up from the ditches of my early life. And I mean ditches. I had to fear every day that I was going to have another broken bone by my father. And I remember one time, just behind me, there's a rifle up on the wall. It was my first rifle. And I was to get deer meat for the table. And that rifle is up there, but I decided one night I was going to kill my father. And I loaded that rifle. And I walked down a long porch where he was sitting behind a lighted window. And he had just beaten me until I could barely walk. I was 8 or 9 years of age, and I could shoot well. And I walked down that porch looking at his head behind a lighted window, working on his desk for whatever he was doing, I don't know. And I started to throw the shells out of that gun, the bullets out of that gun. And they landed on the porch. And when it was empty, I pointed right between his eyes and pulled the trigger, and it just clicked. And somehow that made me feel that's what I wanted to do. But not to kill him. Let him live with that horrible attitude he has. And I'll live the way I want to live. And I went back to the bedroom, put this rifle right behind me, put that beside my bed, went to bed. And about an hour later, he was getting up to go out to the barns. And I just peeked through the curtain to see what he was going to say when he looked down at the lighted porch and saw all these bullets. I think there was 12 or so. And he just looked at them. But I noticed a distinct change in him after that time. He knew that I could have killed him if I wanted to kill him. But I never even wanted to hurt him. I wanted to go with my life. And to marry Pat later and to have a family, to own a farm, to have horses doing what they love to do, and no force.
What a story, Monty. Feel so much for you. And to take this challenge and be able to grow out of it. This concept that I said, ahimsa, in Sanskrit, which means nonviolence, it also means non-violation, non-reaction. And it's really interesting because here is your story, first with horses, and then, of course, with people. But what is for you nowadays the practice of nonviolence in your own inner world with your ghosts, your fears, your shadows. How do you take from this knowledge, this life that you lived, doing so much, and these concepts in your own inner reality, when you're there in the middle of the night and all of a sudden something about you, about your life comes up? How do you practice and still keep practicing nonviolence in your life today?
Well, that's a pretty easy one to answer for you, because remember that by the time I was 15, I had 72 fractures. They're still there. You can still x-ray me and see those fractures. And those set the course for me to take with my life. And I threw away any violence whatsoever. And I just, of course, I would get angry about things that happen that are going to make any of us angry. But I would always look for that way to make it come out okay without any violence, because I knew violence. And every child is not lucky enough to have 72 prepubescent fractures. Every child is not lucky enough. I was. And I was also lucky enough to have Sister Agnes Patricia, a Notre Dame nun, help me see the value of those things that happened, so that I didn't ever have to witness them in my existence time. Not every kid is going to have that. But if I talk enough, there will be more than a lot of them. There will be hundreds and hundreds of kids that will understand that violence is not the answer. And the governments of this world should be working on this same premise instead of what they're doing in the Middle East. I swear to you that if everybody could just say, whoa, stop. Now we're going to do this thing. We're going to bring this silly cowboy from California over here to these Middle Eastern countries. We're going to put him in a safe car or truck or whatever, and have him go around and explain that what we're doing to one another is not going to cause anybody to be happy in the end. It brings nothing but anguish to the human race when we're violent with one another. And we're doing it now, and it isn't necessary. I would love to be able to show them that partnering up with that guy next door and moving to benefit both of you equally would be far better than shooting 58 rockets per night toward one another and killing thousands of people, innocent people, some 8 years old and some 80 years old. Where is the value in that? And the horses have it to teach us if we would just listen.
Monty, I'll go for my last question, which is, I don't know if Joana and Marco knows that, but when you were at our house in São Paulo 1 year ago, you were 88 years old and you did 90 push-ups. Actually, you did 100 push-ups in my house. In straight, 100 straight push-ups. It was not like 10 series of 10 push-ups. You did 100 push-ups. And you still ride horses, and I saw you riding a horse last year, and Julian, and your wife too, Pat. Actually, I have to tell you something. You know, I'm a big fan of you, but there's only one person I think I'm a bigger fan than yourself, which is, I'm a big fan of your wife, Pat. And you are the second best horse rider that I know. The first one is Pat. And she's almost your age, although she looks much younger, of course. And she wins a lot of tournaments that she participates at her age now. What is the secret to keep the health and to keep like this ability to maintain being active at the age you are? You're about to turn 90 years old. What have you done through your life to keep yourself active and able to practice your sports?
Well, I'm so pleased that you brought up the push-ups because I've decided now they're talking about me going to Argentina in March. I don't know if I can do it or not, but I have made a goal that I want to do 120 every other day, push-ups, every other day until March now, because if I can do 120, I know I can do my 90, which I will be close to that time. So I'm pleased you brought it up because those kind of goals are what make your life worth living. And this morning I did 106. This morning. Now tomorrow I won't do any. Give the muscles a chance to go. And then 108, 110. And I'll be on 120 before Christmas. And in March, I'll be able to do 120 if they ask me to do 120. So it doesn't matter whether it's push-ups or any other activity that you would choose to do is critical to push yourself and do these things. Pat is still riding very well. And yesterday I gave her a lesson. And don't you tell me that she rides better than me. I was giving her a lesson and I could see 2 or 3 things that I could help her with. So I did, but she's riding a lot better than me. I'm sitting up there dizzy and I'm thinking I might fall off and stuff. And all of that is okay. But it isn't necessary to name any one challenge. It isn't necessary. Name a challenge that suits you, whether it's physical or just mental. Name a challenge and then go get it. And to work until you can get it. And look back on it each day with the pride that you've gotten yourself there. And I promise you, you'll live longer and stay healthier. Even though I for 5 years now, I've had this thing that came to me because a doctor crossed up the medication and wrecked my autoimmune system. But autoimmune system doesn't really change the brain that much. My hands are numb. I can barely walk. I'm dizzy all the time. Okay, so there I am. That's what I have left. Push-ups don't require that you have to have all of these things. You just keep working at it. And each of us has goals they can set like that. And have that little thing tucked away back in your house somewhere or back in some place. So that when you meet people, they will say, wow, that person is really aging very well. You're about to say that about me. And I'm not aging very well. But you think I am because I'm happy with myself, even at near 90 years of age. And God will take me. And I hope to the right place. But I have to choose it. And I have to go after it. and I have to live without lying to myself about doing well when I'm not doing well. So my hands are numb. So don't touch a hot stove. Be careful. And each of us has that pattern that we can put to us. I can still cause a horse to accept his first saddle and first rider in an average of about 22, 24, 26 minutes. Minutes! When, as I lived my life, all the horsemen agreed it takes 4 to 6 weeks to break a horse. Break means with violence. The roping of the front feet, the tripping and knocking down, the choking a horse, the putting the chains over the nose and stuff like that. 4 to 6 weeks to break a horse. And Adolfo Cambiaso came here. He's the world's leading polo player. He came here, he saw what I did, and he changed his whole operation by bringing horses here and having his men come and learn about my system. And he ended up being the greatest polo player that ever lived, Adolfo Cambiaso. And now his children are going on with it. So it doesn't matter if I couldn't play a game of polo if my life depended on it. I don't need to. I'm doing what I can do. And I'm pleased. And one of those things is to sit right here and look at all three of you and to know that I'm helping the world, not in the world's way. I'm not in the way of the world. I'm pushing it onward. And I learn something from other people almost every day. But it's adding to the knowledge I already have.
I really don't have any more questions, just words of appreciation and gratitude for what you have done with your own life, that it has impacted so many, including me, like the swimmer from Brazil that needed to give new meanings to her career. And who would have thought that you would have made that impact? So it's just to thank you. I think your message is really powerful, and the way that you have took ownership on your life and has transformed tragic and horrendous incident into something beautiful. So just thank you very much.
No, I just say thanks to each of you for coming to me this way. It makes me so proud to know that, I mean, how many years has it been since we saw one another, Eduardo?
It was, I think it was 2009 or 10, right? So it's about 15 years.
Yeah. And it just feels like we were together yesterday, you know? And what I'm so proud of is to take you to this same place where I was when I met you. And you had all the possibilities in the world. And I didn't add to your brain power. I didn't add to your ability to do mathematics. I didn't add anything to your life except that inner balance that took you to succeed in the things that you wanted to do. And I'm so proud of it.
Marco, your last word to Monty.
Wow, what a beautiful moment. Joanna expressing herself, and I know how important you were to Eduardo, and still is, Monty. And it's so beautiful because here this term nonviolence, which is synonymous to non-resistance, but in this talk, what came to me, which is synonymous of nonviolence and non-resistance, is just acceptance. and it's beautiful to hear from you and to feel from you. Yes, there's the attitude, the determination, the effort, but there is this surrender, this acceptance, and it seems that you're a very religious person, and I just see this beautiful package of a life well lived. So I thank you for sharing with us in this moment what is just coming out of you with naturally, no effort. Here is Monty. Here is a life well lived. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for saying those words. And I'd like to say that I would like all three of you to write down things that happen in the next couple of weeks that show you where this took you, and to send them through to us, because that's what I have now. That's all I have now, is to look at the people that I've assisted to go this nonviolent way, and to use the things that I've gone over with you. I would love to see them written down and you sign it so that you go on my list of people that I'm proud to have worked with.